Hello, everyone. This is W, host of this podcast feature known as Surprise Cast. I want to start out with a quote here. When people view my work, I want them to experience a sense of nostalgia, something they can't quite place, but that sparks a feeling of wonder. Who said this? What's it all about? We're going to find out very soon. Let us welcome this artist to Surprise Cast. Hello, my mystery guest. How are you? Could you introduce to the listeners your full name and what you do?
Hi, my name is Coley, and I am an artist and business owner here in San Francisco.
Nice to have you on the program. Let's get started, Holly. I have a quote from you. This is by Georgia O'Keeffe. This is what Georgia says. I found I could say things with color and shapes that I couldn't say any other way. She's been very inspirational for many people. What's been inspiring you lately?
Good question. I think a lot of things inspire me all the time. I feel like I've been really busy with my new studio project. So I've really been turning to nature for inspiration, just even in the day-to-day, finding inspiration in all the blooming trees in San Francisco because of springtime and just rocks at the beach and the ocean. I'm also just trying to find like a work-life balance right now because things have been pretty hectic.
In terms of nature, have you always had an appreciation for nature, or is that something that's been developed recently?
Yes, definitely. In my work, I use a lot of animal and like naturalistic symbols like the moon, the sun, the ocean. So I think nature is a big inspiration for my work. But I'm also from the high desert of Southern California, where, my hometown was just surrounded by mountains.
Could you tell us a little bit about your upbringing whilst growing up in Southern California?
Yeah, I have two sisters, and we lived in a town called Yucaipa. And my grandmother owned a property that we lived on. It was a farm property, and it had an adobe cabin. And it was just kind of surrounded by like a little bamboo forest. There was a small stream. We had like chickens and goats, and we boarded horses for other people. And my mom raised sheepdogs for a while. We had rabbits. But growing up in the 90s, it was just kind of like go outside and then come back when it's dark. So I did spend a lot of time outside in the dirt. I was like that little kid that was like dirty with like impetigo on my face, because I was just like building forts, hanging out with the animals. I spent a lot of my time growing up with animals like cats and dogs. That part was pretty idyllic. I spent a lot of time reading. I was a big fan of Stephen King when I was a girl. Because I think at that time you could just go to the library and check out whatever you wanted to. No one was like, you can't read that. That's.
I remember reading Salem's Lot when I was a young boy. It scared the shit out of me. And I didn't fully understand what was going on.
Oh, no.
So I need to ask you, before we really get knee deep in your work here, what is it about Stephen King that speaks to you?
It doesn't speak to me as much anymore. I think with like movies or books, they're always a way to escape, and this was before like mobile phones or like computers. So you basically had like magazines or like you watch TV. I've always had a very like rich fantasy life because I used to read so much. And these days, it's harder to find time to read, but I'm working on it. But I think it was just like the exciting, scary stories. When you're a kid, you like to like read a scary book and be like, oh my God, that's so scary. It was kind of exciting. Like one summer I sat in the corner of my room and read like It It's like so many pages. And like, I think I'm just fascinated by stories, different perspectives. Yeah. I think I've
Yeah, but
tried to read a book.
these aren't just stories. I mean, these are blood-curdling, frightening, goose-bumping stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I like an exciting story,
I guess so.
Yeah.
So, talk about your earlier part of your life. Tell us and me a moment where any form of art besides Stephen King's writing completely shifted your perspective.
I've been serious about being an artist since I was a little kid. For me, like making art or just working with my hands has always been a way that I understand myself in the world. Even when I was like a small child, I would, be underneath the slide in the playground, making animals, excuse me, out of clay, not clay, sorry, sand, like just like making sand animals under the slide. Just I think I like to joke that my first paying gig as an artist was in third grade when I would draw like my classmates with their favorite member of, was it third grade? Maybe it was fourth grade. I would just draw my friends with their favorite member of New Kids on the Block, and they'd give me like $2 for the drawing. So those are like, so I think I've kind of been an entrepreneur like my whole life a little bit and not really like known what to call it. But I mean, growing up, I like got awards for the art that I made. I wasn't really good at other stuff because I have dyslexia. And during that time, it was just kind of a lot of learning differences weren't as recognized as they are today. So I think for me, like my experience as a young person was, like really, really enjoying my art classes and excelling in those and just I just had the best heart, like high school art teacher, Mrs. Peltz. Like she was amazing. She actually would like give me a ride home from school if like my single mom wasn't able to do it. Like she was just incredible and supportive. I mean, I was also in band from like third grade to when I graduated from high school. So just like playing music was always a great way to like make it as a young person. It just gave me a little bit of direction. But I just think being creative, like playing with an orchestra or making like art with other people, those have just been great ways for me to just kind of quell my anxiety and be creative at the same time. But I've been an artist like since I was a kid. It's kind of what I always wanted to be. So I guess I'm kind of living my dream, like, oh, I did it. But yeah, I think like, so that was always kind of happening for me of being an artist in the back of my mind. So it was never like a hobby. I was just always very serious about it. When I graduated from high school, I moved to the Bay Area the day after I graduated from high school. Like I put like my stuff in a suitcase and a garbage bag and I just got on an airplane for like the first time and came to the Bay Area. And I was like, I'm going to go be an artist. But I had gone to like a summer program at Cal Arts the year before called CISA, California State Summer School for the Arts. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
It's an amazing program where high school kids can get a scholarship to attend a university for like a month and take college level like art classes with a whole bunch of like high school students. It's basically like they turn a college campus into an art program for teens. So you get to work with all the professionals within the organization. So when I went, it was at Cal Arts and I got to sleep in a dorm. I got to have like a kind of like a college experience as a high school student. And my roommate there lived in Marin and she was like, when you graduate from high school, move to the Bay Area and we'll be artists. And I was like, cool, let's go. So that's what brought me to the Bay Area. And then, I worked as a cook for many years because I love to cook, but I also love to work with my hands. And I worked as a dessert chef, but that was I worked at cafes, but that was always my day job to support being an artist. It was just like a very long trek of cool. I just have to work on my art. I got to like make that happen. That was always in the forefront of my mind. Like no matter what I was doing. Although I spent a lot of time partying in the early 2000s. It was like really fun. to be in San Francisco during that time.
Okay. So after that really interesting part of your life, hearing that, I heard the D word, dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you this question because I've spoken to many artists where that word has come up. And being an elementary school teacher for many, many years, that appeared in conversation all the time.
Yeah.
So I want to know, and I want you to really think deeply about this. How do you think dyslexia affected you negatively and or positively?
I mean, I think it affected me negatively in that the way that like standardized tests, like
Yeah.
reading standardized tests, I would, I'd be like, okay, I know the answer. And then I would read the questions and I would just get really confused by reading, like just like holding the sentences, like penning them down. Like it's a lot better now than it used to be. But when I was younger, I would just have problems concentrating on standardized tests. Like I could sit down and I could read, but like as soon as, yeah. And also spelling, really like the spelling thing, I think that's where it's gotten me the worst, where even today there's some words I'm like, okay, how do you spell Michael? Like, and I'm like, I know how to spell Michael, but like my brain's like, blah, 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 blah. But I think that, so having to like do a workaround just to like function normally, I feel like has made my brain a little more flexible to like making mistakes and having, it's like making mistakes as part of like the everyday or just of like under like any type of understanding. It's easy to like misunderstand something and just to go back and like look it over again and try to be patient. I feel like so it's taught me patience and it's kind of taught me like a little bit of extra reliance on myself.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing and being a little bit vulnerable with us. I want to read you another quote. This is by Auguste Rodin, and this is what he says. I invent nothing, I rediscover. When did art stop being just a hobby for you and start feeling like a major part of your life?
I mean, it's never really felt like a hobby to me. It's always been a major part of my life. It's just something that I've always wanted to do. I'm just very fascinated with visual language and just the part of my brain that it lights up and how I'm able to communicate certain emotions and feelings through my work without speaking or just like sharing those feelings and ideas with other people. I think about it kind of like, when you listen to like a song that has a really happy melody, but very melancholic lyrics, that little juxtaposition it can just be so thrilling in a pop song.
Yes.
That's also something that I feel very inspired to convey like emotions and things like that in my work and hope that it comes through.
So what you're really saying is the Smiths.
The Smiths, Morrissey is so problematic. I mean, I did like the Smiths a lot when I was growing up. Like Hatful of Hollow, I think, was my favorite. I really liked the Chameleons. Like Christian Death. Like OMD, Depeche Mode, Erasure, the Cocteau Twins. But also like, living in Southern California, there were just so many great bands. I've been going to shows since I was probably like 16. Yeah.
Find your community and your people there, yeah?
Yeah, totally. There was like a cafe. It was like a queer cafe in Redlands called the Green Carnation. And I would go there when I was like 17 and hang out. Just hang out with my friends and we would drink coffee or tea. But yeah, definitely shows and cafes. Those are great places to find community.
Absolutely. And in terms of you getting recognition, besides the New Kids on the Block sculptures of sand, was there a moment in your life on the timeline where you got some serious recognition and that changed kind of your outlook?
I'm a little bit of an overachiever. So as soon as I make an achievement, I'm always
Yeah.
like, what's next? What's next? You know, like I always want to have like a project coming up
Yeah.
that I'm excited about. What's happening? I mean, I feel like 2 years ago, I was in a two-person show at the Eleanor Harwood Gallery at Minnesota Street Project with this incredible painter named Liz Walsh. And we named it after a Jennifer Castle song, As a Seed Imagines a Flower, which is like, it was a lyric in a Jennifer Castle song, but I think it's actually, she was quoting a poet, and I forget that poet's name, but that was very, very exciting for me to have a show like in a place like Minnesota Street. And that same year, I had a solo show at Park Life Gallery, which is a fantastic place as well. This year, I'm going to have some pieces in the San Francisco like Museum of Modern Art gift shop. So I'm excited about that. I think like,
That's fantastic.
yeah, that's like super rad. And what else? I think, my newest venture, which is the expansion of my business, Speckle Studio, which is just a huge, huge project, but pretty incredible. Like the studio that I used to run, Pinckney Clay on Mission by 30th. It's like it's just like a 950 square foot community pottery studio. But I had a little storefront in the front where I had like little mini shows. So I was able to have like show my friends' work and then my work. I had Samu Cortez, I had Rainiel de Rosario, Amber Jean Young. Like those are all like artists that showed in the little storefront of my space at Pinckney Clay. And I closed that space in July of last year when I was approached by some developers who were revitalizing the Bernal Heights corridor. And they wanted to invest in a new space for my business. So my space went from 950 square feet to 2,500 square feet.
Wow.
And the landlords I worked with their team for like 11 months to totally remodel the building just for the business. I'm still kind of reeling. Like I'm still like kind of in shock. Like, is this real? Is this happening? It's just the most beautiful studio I've ever seen. And I kind of can't believe that it's my studio, honestly. But it's also running a business. You're like, I'm so stressed. But yeah, it's been a big journey. There's like, and I'm really able to amplify like female voices in the arts and in the music scene here. Like that, we just completed a mural by Letty Jane Rennekamp in the backyard. In our little gallery shop in the front, we have works by like 10 local artists working in clay and glass. I plan to have rotating shows there. Like I had like a little store in Noe Valley, like a store gallery that I closed this year when I opened this space. So like, yeah, there's lots going on. Last Sunday, we had our first like secret show with Shannon Lay playing in our little flex space. And Shannon Lay is a singer-songwriter from Los Angeles. Check her out. She's really cool. But I think with this project, I feel very inspired and accomplished to be like, I'm going to invite like, I don't know, all like the people that I think who should be like amplified in the arts, like please come in here and like show your stuff, but also bringing that to like the surrounding community.
Yes. And well, congratulations, first and foremost. And I love that you are living your dream. And that just obviously did come out on a whim. It's all that hard work and energy that you put towards this endeavor. You mentioned something that caught my attention.
Hmm.
Female voices. Tell us more about that. Why is that important?
Oh, I think that in like the art scene or just in art history, you see if you look at museums, the percentage of work made by females or female identifying people is a lot less. So I think there's also, it's changing all the time. There are a lot of great galleries that are promoting more female voices, but I just feel like there are so many amazing, talented female voices that aren't getting any recognition, and those are the ones that I'm trying to champion.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about the gallery and the core ideas behind some of this and any stories you want to share. I've got another quote for you, Holly,
Okay.
by Henry Moore. Henry Moore says this: sculpture is an art of the open air.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you like that. So tell us why.
I like it because I think that working 3 dimension as a person who, like, I extensively studied drawing and painting for many, many years before I just got super into clay and it kind of took over my life. But there's a very thrilling nature of working 3 dimensionally, especially on the wheel, where at a certain point you feel like you're drawing in the air. And that's really thrilling for me.
Give us a sense of this gallery. You had mentioned about bringing in community, bringing in people that need to be amplified, their voices, their craft, their talent. What else is on the horizon, or what goals do you have for this gallery?
Well, like being in San Francisco, excuse me, in the early 2000s, there were a lot of backyard shows, which I don't see as many anymore, but there was a great place on Alabama Street, this 1010 and a half, where some friends lived, and they just would have a lot of shows in the backyard. And that was always just such like just the best thing ever. Like all these bands from Australia came, played in the backyard, and you're just like blown away and all your friends are there. So one thing that I'm hoping to accomplish with the new space is to create this kind of little performance series that's monthly performance series that like introduces the same like intimacy of performance similar to what I experienced in those backyard shows. I know I'm like, follow the thread. Sometimes I get kind of distracted when I'm like nervous. But so I think I definitely want to have friends or just people I admire play these little intimate performances, acoustic performances in the space. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Where I don't know, I feel like I have a lot of ideas, so I'm always trying to like find the time to flesh them out. But another thing that I'm excited to do is create an immersive Holly Coley Spirit Halloween store experience in October. In our little shop, I've been working on a lot of ghost lanterns. So really looking forward to that as like an exhibition slash like interactive experience.
What does your day look like in terms of routine?
I'm trying really, I have to like have a strict routine if I can get any work done at all. I have to have like great time management. And right now I'm struggling with that because there's so much to do that I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. But once I'm able to set into a good, like strong schedule, I'll just be like waking up early, going to work in my studio like X amount of days per week. Probably right now, all I've been able to do is like maybe 1 day a week right now in my studio, and the rest is at Speckle. But basically, I wake up. Lately, I've been doing like a little morning meditation on gratitude, which has been helping a lot with just how crazy the world is. So I think when I wake up, I'm just like getting my head in the game. I have 2 cats, so there's some kitty play time. I have to feed them. Their names are Clarence Carter and Lou Christie. They're brothers. So yeah, just like wake up, kitty time, coffee, go to the studio, work, emails. And then some days I'll be teaching at night. So I'll just kind of be trying to get everything done that I need to do around that time so that when it's time to teach, I can just focus on that. The new studios in Bernal Heights on Cortlandt Avenue. There's Bernal Hill, so I could hike up that on my break if I needed a break. There's also Holly Park. It's just very beautiful here. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my day these days. Or if I have a studio visit planned that day, I'll go visit that artist. Like yesterday, I did a studio visit with Anna Grace, who is a ceramic artist that lives in Noe Valley. So I got to go see her home studio and talk to her about her work. But yeah, I think, or if I can get a friend to come meet me for lunch, that's like a plus.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we're going to go deeper inside your work. It's kind of your sculpting discipline here. So I want to ask you this, Holly. When you have ideas brewing, percolating, and I'm sure you have many, do you actually sketch out your ideas, write them down, talk about it first? What's your process?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a few different modalities that I operate in and out of on a regular basis. One is, like if I'm making work in a series, and that's work that I've been making for a while, that work, like my new classic pots, I will look through books on ancient, like Roman and Greek art, looking for inspiration on forms. And then I'll just do some reading about different like myths and see if anything like feels inspiring. I also look at things that are happening. I'm just kind of like looking through the lens of like ancient art into like our civilization. So like sometimes I will make sketches of those compositions, but because I've been making them for a while, I usually just have all the ideas and I sit down and it just kind of comes out. Like I'm just looking for like a gesture in like the lines when I'm laying it down on the pot. So I think in a way that like that mode is more almost like automatic writing where I sit down and it just comes out because it's like the techniques are really strong. I've been doing it for years. And so I can just sit down and be like, I'm going to work on this for a long period of time. I'm going to know when it's done. I know what I want it to look like. So I work like that. And working like that can get a little boring because everything is so precise and tight. So to counterbalance that, I'll work really loose and make just these very process heavy experiments. I went to Florida last year to learn from some young artists about making like goop glazes. And so I was just mixing up all these different glazes and making all these tests and just playing with the materials. And so that when I'm working loose, a big part of it is play. There's no seriousness. I'm just working for pleasure when I'm doing that. And because the materials are just endlessly fascinating and the clay is so beautiful. So so I'll either work like super tight or super loose and experimental. And then because of my teaching practice, there's usually a technique that I'm trying to learn more about. So I'll go like, I'll like read books on it, or I'll go study with someone to learn more about it. So yeah, I guess I just like working tight, loose, or just like as.
Do you have many projects going on at the same time where you might spend a little bit of time over here, then push that aside, and you go over the next one? Or do you start a project, finish it, then move on?
Well, the nature of working in clay kind of demands that you work on several projects at once because it's not like you can just pick it up and do it until it's done. You have to pick it up and push the material to as far as it can go at that stage. There are just many different stages in the material where you kind of can't do XYZ until you do like 1, 2, 3, which is just like, if it's super wet, you make the forms, you do whatever you need to do to get it to like the stage of dryness that you want it to be in order to do like other things. And then you're firing stuff. So you're waiting for kilns to like heat up and fire and then cool down. And then you take it out of the kiln and you're like, oh, I've ruined it. or you're like, oh, it turned out really good. So it's it's a natural material. So there's a lot of margin for error. Things go wrong all the time. Maybe you were tired and there's just a big thumbprint, and you didn't like the materials like chemically change when you fire them. So they look much different. So like every time you're working at a stage, it's almost like you're looking into the future about how you want it to turn out. So you do want to work on a few things at once because you need to fill the time in between waiting for the next stage.
I want to go back to the quote that I started with at the beginning of this conversation. And that is, when people look at your work, you want them to experience a longing sense of nostalgia, and that creates that wonder. Tell us a little bit more about that in relation to your actual work.
Well, growing up, whenever I would see old objects at the thrift store, I would go to a lot of thrift stores when I was a kid. You're like looking through a plastic basket of Christmas ornaments and you come across like an oil lamp that looks like it's from Egypt. Like maybe it was a reproduction or maybe it's authentic. Like it's just, I think before thrift stores were super picked over by people selling stuff online, you could just go into these spaces and see things from throughout time. So I think I just have felt very inspired by my nostalgia for physical objects. There was this book that I read in college. It was about like the glass menagerie, or about like Victorian people, their nostalgia for like flora and fauna and like menageries and just taking nature and encasing it in resin and glass and making it like a little relic or object. But I think for me, the work that I'm making that looks like it could have, like you could, in my mind, I'm kind of like, it would be really cool for like 10-year-old me to find one of my pots at a thrift store. That would have just been exactly like, just like something that just would blow my mind. I was like, where did this come from? Why is it here? I think that's the connection. Does that make sense?
Creation. So in running a gallery, I'm sure you've come across some just all types of amazing artists, and you will continue to do so. I want to know if you have a unique story that kind of stands out in your mind since running the gallery.
One thing, when we had the shop, the New Classic Gallery on 24th Street, it was so incredible to have a space like that in San Francisco at this time. In a space like Nui Valley, people would come in and say, this is just like the way things used to be in this neighborhood. But now the neighborhood is, you have like a lot of gyms, which is great. Gyms are great, but you do see less creative spaces and music venues in the city than there used to be because of the high rents.
Yeah.
So I think that was a unique experience to be able to provide a space like that for the public, and people would just come in and just be like, I'm having a hard day. I'm so glad you're here. Like, so I can come in and see these objects,
Yeah.
So that was really fantastic.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of your work here. So for all the listeners, you can go over to Holly's website, hollycoley.com, and you could check out some of the work, learn about some of her past exhibitions, do some shopping, if you will. But I want to talk about two pieces that caught my attention. And the first one is the Hermes running shoes. I really like this. So tell us more about this. And where did this inspiration come from?
I think it comes back to just like my adoration of used items, secondhand items.
Yeah.
Just kind of goes back to like the thrift store story where I'm just thinking like, what if there is a thrift store where they sold all the junk that the gods got rid of? Like that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like in my Park Life exhibition, my idea for that exhibition was for it to be like an ancient Greek thrift store. I made a reproduction of these games they used to play with goat bones. So I made
Oh,
some goat bones out of clay. It was kind of like pickup sticks. But those shoes, I just thought it would be like funny to be like, here are his old running shoes, like let's put him out to pasture. Maybe like, when you're walking down the street and people put their old running shoes on the sidewalk,
yes.
it's kind of like that.
Or on telephone wires.
Yes. Well, but people putting them on the street are like, here, use these,
Right.
give
Yeah.
them a second life. So like, what if Hermes was like, does anyone want these shoes? Like I'm going to get a new pair. So it's kind of like that. I think also I'm obsessed with shoes. Like I just love like Clark's Wallabies. I love like old running shoes. I love finding like antique shoes. And I'm just like, just the craftsmanship is just insane.
Yeah.
But I think with that project, when I went to art school, like one of the projects that they give you in like a clay class, they're like, it's time to make your shoe out of clay. So that's like like a beginner project. So it's kind of referencing that. And when I was like 10 years old, I really wanted to have the nickname High Top. Like I tried to get people to call me High Top, but it never worked. I'm not saying I want
Ah,
that nickname now. I don't want it.
okay.
Putting that out there. But yeah, I just with that piece, I was just kind of like really humanizing those myths and trying to bring some of
Sure.
that like grandiose down to like a tactile level.
Yeah. So cool. All right, let's do another one here. I love this one. This one's called My Venus.
Yeah. Yeah. So my Venus it's my sculpture of the Venus of Willendorf. And she's wearing Ray-Ban sunglasses. She's very cool.
Yes.
That's another just repositioning of female ideals throughout art history. Like she's like this fertility god, but she doesn't have a face. She's just a body. So I was like, what if she was just really cool? She was all those things, but she just had great style. So, and I think just putting sunglasses on that sculpture was very like, I had a good time doing that. A lot of this work is about me having a good time and I like wanting people to also have a good time when they look at it, to like translate that humor into like the visual experience of viewing these pieces. And I think with that piece, I mounted it on, like a cast bronze pedestal. In painting this, like the Ray-Bans, they look really realistic. When this sculpture was in the New Classic Gallery, everyone kept trying to take her glasses off and one of them cracked a little bit, but like they look really realistic. They're, and I even painted the metal details on them it's like I used it like a type of luster for the metal details on the sunglasses, but I really like the way that piece turned out. And I think it's really funny.
Well, going back to your imagination, which has been so strong ever since you were a young child, it shows in your work. It's that I feel like there's a lot of life bursting with these sculptures. There is play, there's imagination, there is fun. In terms of your gallery, if you wouldn't mind sharing, when is it open?
Mhm.
How can people get in touch with you regarding your work? Just some of those details.
Yeah. So my space is called Speckle Studio. It's located at 416 Cortlandt Avenue in the San Francisco's neighborhood of Bernal Heights. Our website is specklestudio.com. You can get in touch by sending us an email at hello@specklestudio. And on Instagram, we're Speckle Studio SF.
What's coming down the line for Speckle Studio?
What's coming down the line? Right now we have 6-week classes and 4-week classes on weeknights for hand building. There's a Nirakomi Madness class taught by my friend Katie Thrash, where it's all just the art of Nirakomi, which is staining the clay and building blocks and chopping it up and making things out of it, which is really fun. What is there? There's intro wheel, there's next steps. There's going to be a throwing large workshop with Anna Grace, I believe next month. I would have to check the calendar, but that's all on our website. We do private events. We do team builds. Yeah, that's just classes, events. We're a community pottery studio, so we also have memberships. Yeah, we have all those things.
You are busy. I don't know how you keep it all together, but you do.
I don't know either.
Is there anything else you want to share about the gallery that you haven't mentioned at this time?
About the gallery. Well, the gallery is inside of Speckle Studio, so it's like a storefront on the art studio. Forgot to mention that we also have drawing and painting classes too. We have like a paint and sip night twice a month with local artist Aaron Zugbe. And then we have intro to drawing with Matt Baruso, who was my drawing teacher at the San Francisco Art Institute, and just really wonderful focus and delving into the practice of drawing with Matt. Yes, I think that's good to mention that stuff.
Okay, everyone who are listening, you want to head to San Francisco, check out the gallery. Sounds like it's a really nice time. And just to support this wonderful artist I'm speaking with and the community, of course, I've got 2 more questions for you. I want to read a quote. Here's the quote by the famous podcaster. Her name is Brené Brown. She says this: "Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness, we will discover the infinite power of our light." So, Holly, tell us a challenging moment in your life that compelled you, that forced you to rethink who you are as a person, and how did it change you?
I mean, do you have a harder question that you could ask me?
I do.
You have anything more serious? I think there are 2 things, and I'll say one heavy and one light.
Okay.
I think a heavy thing is getting older and having people pass away. That really makes you realize how wonderful it is to be here and how wonderful it is to be with people. I'm gonna cry a little bit there. So I think that, experiencing loss definitely gave me a different outlook on life. And then I think the light side of that, I think an experience that I had that really changed my perspective was, what was it? Probably 2000. I think it was in 2018. I got a commission to make 350 mugs, sloth mugs for this company. And as a person that I don't do production pottery. That's not something that I once in a while I'll do a big order for somebody, but I don't do it on the regular. It's a lot easier for me now than it was then, but basically I got this order for 350 sloth mugs. And that year I didn't celebrate Christmas because I was just making these mugs for months, and my husband was helping me. But then I delivered that commission, and I think that was the most money I had ever made selling my work. So I took some of that money and I went to Costa Rica with my sister. to go look at real sloth because I had never seen them before. So I think just being able to like have this, like be inspired by these animals and like through the exploration of that fascination to be able to travel to like their homeland and see them and just see different cultures. I'd never been to Costa Rica before. It was incredible. And I was like, oh, like, you know, it's taken me places.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing the positive and the negative of these challenging and fruitful moments of your life. We're going to end it here with a little bit of fun. I asked you to come to this conversation to discuss one of the following. Maybe there's a memorable concert, piece of art other than yours that has inspired you, or would you like to recommend some other galleries in San Francisco or other locations in the world that you would recommend?
And I think there are a lot of great art spaces in the city. You know, like the galleries at Minnesota Street are really cool. Park Life has great shows. Eleanor Harwood at Minnesota Street. Jessica Silverman Gallery is incredible. Southern Exposure is a wonderful gallery. They have a show that's opening, I think, first Saturday in May. It's a Palestinian. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like some type of collective show. I'm on their email list and I got it today and I was like, ooh, I gotta go check that out. But Southern Exposure is an incredible art space. It's been around for like 50 years, I think. And then there's Root Division, which is an art education nonprofit. And their mission is to put artists in public schools at no cost to the community. That's where I learned how to teach during my time there many years ago. But they also have a gallery and monthly shows, and their shows are excellent. Yeah, that's what I got for you today.
Well, you got that, and I got some walking homework to do, so thank you for that. Good stuff. Yeah. Really appreciate it. Okay. Final question. In memory, what do you think has been one of the most rewarding aspects of your journey, personally or professionally?
I think in memory, it's funny. I don't know if this happens for you, but recently the pandemic has just been coming up in conversation. I don't know if maybe it's time that people can talk about it. I don't know, but I don't want to bum anyone out. But I was talking about it with some of my students last night because we were doing Nirakomi, and during the pandemic, I became the owner of the studio of Pinckney Clay. The owner sold it to me and gave me a loan to buy it from her. Like, I had been helping her run it, and she just was like, I gotta move to New Jersey and get married to this guy. A lot of people were Zoom dating during the pandemic. So that's kind of what happened with her. And it was just an amazing opportunity at the worst possible time. So, just running the business during that time was very difficult. But what was really excellent was holding space for people during that time. The online classes that I taught, I still have people coming up to me that took those classes from me that just talk about it as being such a wonderful respite for them at that time. I would just make clay kits and they would come pick them up. There's a screen protector, and then we would all just meet online and make these intricate hand-built projects. But we would also hold space during those sessions and just have conversations about what it was like for them at home. Because I think that at that time, people were really isolated from each other and all, it's the history of humanity. We're all having the same experience. We just need to tune into that.
Yeah. I'm sure people are listening are probably going back in their memory bank going, oh yeah, I clearly remember those times. It seems so far away, but really it wasn't, right?
Well, I guess I also want to correct myself. We weren't all having the same experience. because of social, economical factors.
Sure.
So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Of course. Yeah, thank you. Holly, one more time, remind the listeners the hours for the gallery.
Oh, so the Speckle Studio is open Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday, noon to 6 o'clock. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, noon to 6 o'clock. Sunday is 10 a.m. to 6 o'clock.
All right, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, I have some homework to do in San Francisco, so head on over to the gallery, support her work, head on over to her website, be tickled, be curious about what she has sculpted and created. My name is you, host of this podcast feature known as Surprise Cast, and I'm going to end it with one more quote, but we're not going to talk about it. This is by the great musician Lionel Hampton, and he says this: gratitude is when memory is stored in the heart, not in the mind. Thank you for listening, and remember this: great art is all around us. All you have to do is keep your eyes and ears open.